Karen Nichols Martin is a Nashville artist whose work is detail-oriented and physically demanding, not to mention beautiful. Well, Cindy Carter caught up with the artist who uses sandblasting to bring her works together. Here they both are at the studio called Glass.
In Nashville, art is all around. Musica near the city's famous Music Row. Ghost Ballet along the banks of the Cumberland River. The bronze statue of Owen Bradley, one of Nashville's most influential record producers. All obvious to the eye. But there are other imaginative pieces, big and small, hidden in plain sight, like the stars people step on as they stroll through the Music City Walk of Fame. All created by this artist, this sandblaster, Karen Nichols Martin.
When I see blank glass somewhere, to me it makes me crazy because I see it as a blank slate. I see it as an opportunity to have art basically all around us in the world we're in. And so even today I'll see something be, oh, that'd be a great place to do some sandblasting where it would be in the public eye and so many people would be able to appreciate it.
Karen and her colleagues design and blast their public and private works of art inside their Nashville Glass studio. A noisy hub of creativity. Karen says there are basically two kinds of sandblasters. Industrial, such as the professionals who remove rust from a car or paint from a house, and architectural, who work in the area of design and aesthetics.
We custom design patterns, and then we, through the process of sandblasting, use a number of forms of applications to ultimately blast artwork on different substrates, whether it be glass, acrylic, granite, marble, stone, pavers, wood occasionally, and even metals.
And with precision and patience, Karen and her team blast intricate designs for public and private appreciation. And we do mean blast. Hard to believe, but pieces that look like this and this are generated by compressed air, the right pressure, and the appropriate abrasive.
I think you're good. Yep, you're good.
Despite the title, Karen says most sandblasters don't actually use sand anymore. Instead, they work with many other types of abrasives that are easier on the lungs and are appropriate for the particular surface they're cutting into. Work that is as rewarding as it is physically demanding.
You're out there with heavy bags of abrasive, with heavy equipment. When the air pressure is running through those hoses, manhandling the hoses, and yet at the same time, maintaining your focus and attention to detail, and ultimately making sure the product isn't damaged in the process. So it's mentally and physically, draining.
The drain starts with a dream, the client's vision. Is it something as simple as etching on an award, or someone's wine cellar door? Perhaps it's a rock on someone's property. Karen's team works very closely with their clients to determine definition and dimension.
So identifying obviously their needs and ultimately their vision of what they would like it to look like at the end is our job, and that's one thing I enjoy the most, is identifying what it is they would like to see ultimately come to life.
After the design is determined, the team creates the appropriate stencil from vinyl, rubber, or even photo negatives for finer lines. Next, they'll choose the correct pressure and abrasive, which ensure those delicate features pop and dimensions take shape. Surprisingly, this type of artwork doesn't take that long to complete. For example, Karen says this beautiful piece was created in about 8 hours. Some take less than an hour. It all depends on the intricacy of that original design.
As a sandblaster, sometimes you might be 10 hours into something. If you make one little mistake, it's a wash. So you better have a good plan of attack when you go in there and understand well ultimately what your end vision is as a sandblaster.
Something Karen says she learned the hard way in those early years. After college, Karen floated from job to job, never really comfortable behind a desk. A visit with her uncle, who owned a sign shop south of Birmingham, changed everything. He was sandblasting a piece of redwood when she arrived.
It intrigued me and it stuck with me, and I went back to a job that I wasn't necessarily happy with, and I couldn't let go of the idea.
From there, she began self-educating. Karen was also mentored long distance by a couple on the West Coast who'd been sandblasting for years. When she felt confident to start her own business, Karen did so by first reaching out to colleges and universities in the Southeastern Conference.
I know that the logos and emblems of these respective universities are near and dear to all those fans. And so I went through the process of going to the collegiate licensing company and another licensing group that does some of the other teams. And I presented to them the idea of placing their collegiate logos onto the glass.
Slowly, Class Glass began to take off. And almost 2 decades later, Karen and her 4 other designers are blasting their art into homes, museums, and businesses across the country. And from that initial client meeting to the final product, like any artist, Karen says the reaction is the best part of the process.
Ultimately, that's the biggest high, is them being able to appreciate, wow, this is what all that conversation meant. Now I really understand what you were saying, and please them beyond their wildest expectations of what they thought they were going to get when they left here.
Karen realizes she won't receive any feedback for much of her work. That's because no one knows she's the artist behind it. But Karen knows, and for her, seeing her own work hidden in plain sight is still pretty rewarding.
It's funny, sometimes you'll drive around town and you'll pass by something and you'll remember specifically, wow, that's kind of cool, I did that. I guess it's rewarding as an individual to see that.